The most promising infrastructure startups today are no longer pure software businesses. I've been calling them workload clouds, and they're increasingly challenging cloud providers in the domains that matter the most for AI. Over the last decade, what we've seen is that the best infrastructure companies have sat on top of the clouds and effectively helped you manage storage and compute in your cloud environments. The lion's share of the money in that market was going to the cloud providers. We really started to see this model change in the data world, particularly with Snowflake. Rather than giving you a solution that helped you manage your data warehouse somewhere else in the cloud, they sold you the data warehouse. For the customer, that meant instead of getting two bills, one from your cloud provider and one from your data warehouse vendor, they just gave you the whole bill and they manage all the infrastructure in the back end. A couple years later, we saw Databricks follow suit. And what that allowed them to do is instead of settling for 5 or 10% of the data budget, they could capture the entire data budget and really own the entire workload. The best infrastructure companies today are really following that same playbook and applying it to different production workloads. Vercel owns front-end and web development, increasingly agent development as well. Fal really owns generative media. Browserbase owns browser compute. These companies are really following a very consistent playbook. They start with choosing a very critical production workload and offering a service to developers rather than pure software that helps them manage that workload end to end. From there, they really abstract away the complexity of managing that workload. Companies can really compete with cloud providers where they're weakest, which is developer experience. By offering an exceptional developer experience, they can capture a bottoms-up groundswell of individual developers, startups, SMBs, and eventually move up market even to the larger enterprises. And from there, really the challenge is how do you become the best in the world at running that workload? That means optimizing your stack, pooling resources across customers, lowering TCO, and eventually vertically integrating down the stack, both to improve margins and to offer a better experience for your customers. What we've seen working with a number of workload cloud businesses is that in the early days, owning a workload is actually much harder than shipping software. Your costs are high, your margins are low and oftentimes negative, and really you're on the hook 24/7 for making sure this workload is working for your customers. But our view is that in the long term, this actually creates a much more sustainable business and much deeper moats than traditional software. In a world where you can screenshot a UI and put it into an LLM, really what sustains value is expertise around running a specific workload. We're seeing this model emerge while agents are writing more software than ever. If you're become the default where agents want to deploy that workload, there's a ton of opportunity ahead of you. We're seeing that at companies like Vercel, which has become the default place for Claude Code, Codex, and other agents to really deploy their JavaScript code as a result of many, many years of deep optimization and really deep focus on kind of that front-end use case. Our view is that there's really never been a better time to build an infrastructure business, and there's never been a better time to build a workload cloud.